Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. My name is Ace and I got another TF2 commentary here for you. Now, this video will be about the exact patch notes that have been released. I'll put a link in the description below. Gameplay, once again, doesn't matter. It's just gameplay, just background video footage for you, something to watch, even though you probably would be reading the patch notes with me. Now, I'm not going to read up everything because that just seems silly. I'm just going to manage a few, speak about a few things that popped out for me. And I'm also not gonna mention any fixes or anything, or bug fixes or minor changes, because, well, they don't really matter unless you're really hoping for it. But I will talk about the buffs, the nerfs, and some set changes and all kinds of good stuff. So stay with me. Starting off, of course, this patch is the summer patch. The summer cooler event has started. So you will be seeing coolers going left and right. A little bit iffy about the economy, well, the business side of things, I suppose. I understand it from my business side perspective, because it's more money in the end. But it's going to be annoying for the customer because the coolers have a number and every number corresponds to a key with a certain number. So you have to have a specific cooler for a specific key instead of having one key for all coolers. Very much like the crate system. Little bit disappointed by that, but once again, in the long run, it just means more money for Valve once the trading starts to get going. A lot of nice items, 60 gold items, gold star community items, quote, have been added in this patch because of it. So that's going to be very nice. I like to see that the community and of course all these modders or 3D modelers, I should be saying, actually get some very nice opportunities here to basically do what they love and actually get rewarded for it as well once they get lucky to be picked. And there are some very awesome things. So I'm definitely going to be hunting down a few things, hopefully cheaper than the actual shop costs, depending on how I will end up training. Talking about all the maps, of course, a lot of maps have been fixed, a lot of exploits. I would definitely recommend going through them. I think that the highest amount of fixes are either coming from Badwater or upwards, which is to be expected. Of course, the fact that you can't do the sentry jumping and then build on a very annoying position is of course fixed. You cannot build inside of spawns, which actually is a very common problem apparently. You could build in spawns on several maps, didn't even know that. Upward has very similar things, of course. And also the fact where blue apparently could be trapped in their final spawn room. Did not even know that, but there you go. Now, looking forward to the main thing, of course, the items. Now, I'm just going to say this, all the sets that have been added, all these sets are basically changed into... We removed all the positive and negative stat effects, the actual stat effects that they had, and we added leave a calling card on your victim. So you basically will know that you got killed by somebody who was wearing a specific set. So that's basically all that there is to it. Now, a lot of items have been are now able to be painted or to be renamed as well, including the K9 main, one of my favorite headpieces for the heavy. Gotta be the Metal Wolf though. Gotta be the Metal Wolf, as well as for the demo. Clearly, gotta be that one wolf. There can only be one. But the few things that really stood out to me for the items are, of course, the fact, if you look, for example, at the shortstop, you get more healing, but you are 80% more vulnerable to push forces, so you will be bouncing about. Criticola, instead of mini crit, you take damage increase. Bit of an iffy change, but also, yeah, it turns out once I get to test it. Of course, all the buff items have been buffed for the soldier, which is kind of nice. I think the Battalion's Backup was the most anticipated buffs, which now is up to 50% damage reduction, including an additional 15% sentry damage resistance to all teammates while the banner is active. Really looking good, of course. The Conqueror has been increased. All buffs are now rage generated with doing damage. I still think overall that the buff banner itself is going to be the most useful item, especially in pubs. But imagine 3 soldiers having the 3 buff items ready, and then just you have a massive ball of doom that you can't stop. Because the Conqueror also makes you go faster, you have more damage reduction, and it's just going to be all kinds of awesome. There's no way around that. Or also some minor fixes with the rocket launchers, or the different type of rocket launchers regarding sound. But the main thing is that if you look at the Liberty launcher, and I believe the Cowmangler, yes, the Cowmangler Liberty launcher, it's basically that all the rocket amounts have been reset to 4, so very much like the stock. But they for the Liberty Launcher in exchange, you will do 25% less damage with every rocket, but they still go as fast, of course. That's an interesting change. But the Cowmangler, now I could anticipate, or I could read this wrong though, but it seems that the Cowmangler is possibly going to be a better item than the stock. Because it reduces the clip size from 5 to 4, which is stock level. Remove the 10% damage, the negative 10% damage attribute. So that's gone, so it's basically stock damage. Remove 5% slower reload attribute. So that's pretty much back to stock. Added missing set player on fire description text and new particles and sound. So, as far as I understand it, the Cowmangler is basically just a laser stock version with the ability to do a giant nuke. Which in my eyes pretty much gives that particular weapon an opening to become more useful. Because there are potential situations where the Cowmangler's charged shot will be better. So, giving you the opportunity to choose between either just bombing down with several shots or just doing one massive shot is going to be very interesting to see how that turns out. Definitely going to be trying it out. Escape plan also got nerfed because not only, of course, you are already weak before it becomes useful, it also means that you are now going to be marked for death after deploying for a short period after holstering. Which is a very interesting change. I can understand why they did it, because you become really fast. But now it just stands out painfully for people that are not even aware of a soldier that's running really fast. So it becomes even easier to take somebody out who is already pretty much near death anyway. Not really happy with that change, but I can understand why they did it. But I'm not happy with it, so I hope they revert it, but I don't expect anything to happen of the sort. Like I said, the stats have been resetted, and leave a calling card has been added to any of them. Also, Power Jack added 50% increased move speed while deployed, so you go even faster now, which is awesome. But you also become an additional 20% more vulnerable to all sources, so that's going to be painful to deal with. It's definitely going to be gotta go fast or you're going to get dead. Looking at the charge and charge, speaking about there can only be one, added the afterburn immunity for the charge and charge, which is kind of amazing. I'm not gonna lie, I always hated the afterburn, especially when I play a half demo knight, because the natural enemy to a demo knight or to a half demo knight is that pyro class that can just air blast you, ignite you, and can just toy with you. And now you have afterburn immunity because of it once you are wearing the charge and charge. So very lovely change. The loose cannon, the item of course implemented for the MVM situation, or the entire gameplay, is that actually range no longer affects direct cannonball's impact damage. Reduced charge time to 1 second, which is kind of cool. Added double dunk, directly impacting an enemy within a half second before the bomb explodes. Sounds and particle effects. Apparently there have been some added effects to it, so that you know that you have done the double dunk, if you will. And also the double dunk damages do now mini crits. So you can definitely see how that weapon can definitely make your day a lot more, well, a lot shorter, I suppose. The expert ordnance set, which is now removed. Remove 10% fire damage resistant aware, so it's completely removed. Which of course is a combination of the caber and the lock and load, I believe. Is that the caber and lock and load? No, it has to do with the lock and load and another item. I'm not sure if that was the caber, but there you go. That set has been pretty much removed. Buffalo steak sandwich, the heavy, lovely melee only buff, now seems to be having the same change as the Criticola. Basically, mini crits have been removed, 25% more damage taken, which is going to be nasty, not going to lie. It allows you to take even more damage depending on the situation, as far as I can tell. Deluxe bar, increased amount of health restored per bite from 15 to 25, so slight buff. Gunslinger, fixed the bug that caused mini sentries to heal while being constructed. Now, this is very good. This is going to be a very nice change, because a lot of the mini sentries were pretty much just tanking you for days, even though you were already firing. So once they are being, if you see one of them being constructed, you're going to be easier. It's a lot easier for it to be taken down. It's still not a nerf that I want to see, because it's still overpowered in my book, but then again, that's a discussion for a whole different time. Rescue Ranger has a buff in healing and damage. Short Circuit, reduced ammo cost when an attack destroys a projectile, so definitely awesome. The Short Circuit is a really interesting item. It only really is useful for stickies, removing of stickies. Wrangler, reduced accuracy of the manually controlled sentry at long range. Which is going to be nice because this might give you an opportunity to get away when the Wrangler is being abused. And also protective shields now fades 1 second after the own engineer dies. So that's a lot faster as well. Very nice. Crusader crossbow. Changed arrow projectile to a large syringe. So that's kind of cool. That kind of makes sense. Overall, sealing a lot of fixes. But talking about the medic, quick fix getting a massive buff. Added 50% overheal. So expect quick fix medics to be left and right. Which is awesome. Uber now affects the medic when there's no heal target. Very nice as well. And shotguns with pushback force in nature, for example, no longer affect players under the effect of the quick fix Uber. So that was a good fix as well. Vaccinator now ironically gets buffed. Uber now fully absorbs crit damage for the selected damage type, but depletes Uber charge based on the amount of damage prevented. So you don't take the crits, but your Uber does deplete faster. Bizarre Bargain gets fixed when it comes down to the charge rate, the starting charge rate, to being minus 40% instead of minus 20. So it's a fix, but it's a nerf as well. Cap the max charge rate to 200%, so you can definitely tell how fast it can become. So if you can get headshots after time after time after time, Bizarre Bargain will be your bread and butter, if you will. Cozy Camper, movement penalty being removed, added damage taken increased to 20%. So Cozy Camper actually becoming a little bit more valuable, but still shit. Darwin's Danger Shield, bullet damage taken reduced by 15%, and also explosive damage taken increased by 20%. So you might have a better chance of fighting against scouts, but once the demos and soldiers bomb you in, you're gonna die faster. Really annoying. I would still love to see the Darwin's Danger Shield and the Razorback coming together, but that's just me. Dead Ringer, which is one of the buffs that I wanted to talk about as well, is when under the effect of Feign Death, damage taken decreases the duration of the effect, so you can burn down the Death Ringer quicker. They don't necessarily take more damage, but them taking damage will burn down the effect quicker, so you can chase them more effectively. Also, Latranger added 40% increased cloak to rangers, so that becomes a whole lot more powerful. Even overpowered depending on how good you are with the Dead Ringer or any other watch for that sake, because that's a 40% increased cloak duration, guys. 40%, that's huge. Spicicle, that's just a fix right there, and the Spice that also pretty much just having, of course, all the stat changes, including the reduced decloak sound volume being removed, but now adds a custom particle effect when taunting. What the hell? I can see the trolley Spice coming out. Now, these are pretty much my thoughts on the updates that stood out. There are a lot of different updates, for example, also to Man vs. Machine, but I stopped to care for that particular game out a while ago. But let me know what you think about the patch notes. Is there any patch notes that you disagree with or agree with? Maybe one of the ones that I mentioned. Maybe the ones that you can read in the patch notes that I will link in the description box below. And that is pretty much it for me. I will read the comments. I hope you guys have a good night and take care.